albums of the month, highlights of the month, EPs of the month for November. I do need a haircut, but we shall deal with that. We'll deal with that later. But this will be the final albums of the month, highlights of the month of the year. I don't think there's as much point doing one for December, usually because there's not as many releases that come out. And also there are the year-end lists that will be happening anyway, so all of the highlights will be made on those lists. So it just feels like a natural end to the year to do this for November. I will say, out of many of the months that I've done this for, this might be one of the quietest months, mostly because some of the albums that came out didn't quite as enamor me or as, impress me as previous months. But I do have a couple of ones that I want to mention that came out earlier in the year, but I only got to them in November. I'm going to start with Bagdadski Vor, who put out a fantastic album earlier in this year. Only got to it in November, in the month of November, but my god, I'm glad I did, because it really blew me away. Really fantastic album that's really atmospheric and blissful, while also being really heavy and, indebted into the post-hardcore classics, the screamo classics. Very much, if you're a fan of bands like La Dispute and Touche Amore, who are of course pretty obvious names in the genre, but I think if I'm gonna have to try and sell this anymore, I may as well mention two bands that are pretty much beloved in this style. But Bagdadski Vor put out a pretty damn great album, and really goes up there with the best of the genre that I've heard in the past year or so, easily. There's been a really nice string of EPs this past month as well. It seems as though so many came at once, but I may as well go through some of these as well. Starting with Killa, one of the sassiest and fun rappers around, but has never really got his due, never really has got his recognition that he truly deserves. Easily puts out some of the biggest bangers in rap music at the moment, and you wouldn't think that he was doing that because no one talks about him. Always found him to be a feature king too. Whenever I hear him on a feature, I get excited as hell. He's collaborated with Injury Reserve a few times, as you may already be aware. Each time he does, smashes it out of the bloody park, man. And he is just so fun, exciting, and it's hard to say no to this kind of music, man. He's just blending elements of house, electronic, but he's staying true to himself and just putting out some really, really great songs. Just so fun. Also putting out bangers, but in a different kind of way to what Killa is. We have Shygirl. Shygirl put out an EP last year. Wasn't really into it, but this new one, my god, it's slimy, it's grimy, it's dirty as hell. And again, the blend of genres coming through here is really impressive and just gets me so excited to see where Shygirl will go next, because some of these tracks are just super impressive. You've got like the UK garage influenced drum and bass, just bass heavy bangers. And Shygirl's like rapping over these tracks with a really, really vocal performance on each track. She sounds really creepy, but at the same time, she's killing it. Might be someone to look out for coming out of the UK at the moment, because no one's quite doing it like this. And I'm impressed. I'm excited to see where Shygirl goes next. And to cap off the EP mentions, we do have SCJ, who put out one of the best albums of not only last year, but of the whole decade, in my opinion. I don't think there was anything quite like SCJ's Escapism, but it was something special. So of course, Do What You Can just extended what FCJ was already doing on that album, and it might not be as good as the album, but for the EP and what we're getting here, I can't say no to this. Jesus Christ, the opening track manages to manipulate sicko mode in the coolest way, and only SCJ at the moment could make a track like that bloody work. Just really, really hype tracks, stadium bangers, if you will. Just an exciting all-round album that's just really, really impressive for an underground artist. I mean, this artist is very unknown in comparison to some of the ones I've mentioned in this video already, but the talent levels are way flying through the ceiling, through the roof, bro. Jesus Christ, SCJ is great. Next we have Gidge, who put out a phenomenal album in 2014. It runs a little long. I've seen a few people say that the length is a bit off-putting for that album, but I think from start to finish, It is absolutely gorgeous. It is just the perfect, like, walking in the rain type album. As pretentious as that bloody sounds, it kind of is true. I do love the way that their album covers always match the style of music as well. That album was a bit more hazy, but then you've got the new one that was a bit brighter and seemed to feel a bit more hopeful when you listen to it, which I was really impressed by. And some of the tracks on this, Jesus Christ, some of the best like minimal techno tracks you'll hear all year. New Lights, the opening track, which has a wonderful vocal sample coming through. Jesus, man, there are some amazing songs on this one. Once again, I'm just so impressed with what Gidge are doing, and if this doesn't make my year-end list, it's at least being an honourable mention for the year, because they just deserve it. They really do. They're so damn good. And for the first time in 2020, I'm going to cheat with my album of the month. I haven't done this yet, but you know what? Considering it's the last one of the year, I thought I may as well treat myself to a bit of cheating and give you an album that technically didn't come out in November as my album of the month. And that album is, of course, Gene Dawson's Pixel Bath, which did technically come out right at the end of October, but I have actually played this album quite a lot throughout the entirety of November, and it just feels like a November album to me. I'm just going to go with a personal feeling here of how I've played it so much over the past month that it has to be the album of the month for this month. And to be fair, it deserves a bloody mention anyway, because it's just so great. Gene's influences are pretty clear. Every time I talk to someone about this album, they bring up the influences that clearly made Gene Dawson who he is. Brockhampton, JPEG Mafia, the list goes on. There are many modern artists that you can definitely hear in this album here, but I do feel as though Gene is managing to just take everything that clearly inspires him and put it in this creative blend of cool genre shifts and genre blends, and it just turns out to be one of the most fun and catchiest albums of the year. One of my favourite things about this album is that it's not the most original thing you'll hear this year, but it is at the same time. It's just so original in the feeling it gives you. It makes you feel like you're young again. I mean, you know, some of you guys that watch me are young anyway, but it totally takes me back to like my teen days for some reason. It just has this great youthful spark to it. And I don't know, man, it just hits a nice spot. It's a great feeling whenever I listen to this album. The songs are catchy as hell. You've got tracks like Bruise Boy, the A$AP Rocky feature is stellar too. Like, there's just so much to enjoy, but it also gives me a slightly different feeling than some of the other albums that I call favorites of the year, which just puts it in a special place. And like I've already said a few times, played it that much throughout November, it kind of felt wrong not to have it as the album of the month. So yeah, that is it. The albums of this past month, and of course EPs, because I mentioned like 3 of them. And that is the final video of this series in 2020. Of course, I'll bring it back in January of 2021, which isn't that far away. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. Although technically I will bring it back in February anyway, because I always do it at the start of the following month. But you guys get what I'm saying. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the series, and let me know in the comments if you have or you don't really like it that much. I'm always willing to take criticism on board as long as it's constructive, and you're not just going to tell me that I should stick to my day job and quit YouTube because this is not good for me, because I am terrible at it, because that's just kind of a bit unfair, man. Thank you for watching this video. Tell me what your highlights of the last month were. Tell me your thoughts on the albums I've mentioned throughout this video as well. Definitely need a haircut. Jesus Christ, we're going to get a haircut later today. Thank you for watching. Lists are coming soon as well. Of course, we're in December, end of the year. Hopefully you're looking forward to those too. And that's it. Goodbye, have a good day, and subscribe.